Hey guys, I sat through all 2.5 hours of Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny. How we doing, everybody? Welcome to my review of the dumpster fire that is Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny. I'm not even going to hold back about what I think of this film because to me, this film was complete trash. Hopefully you'll keep watching now that I've kind of told you where I stand on this film. I watched it this evening. This will be Thursday. And so normally, like, even when I saw The Flash on Thursday night and Transformers, my theater was full. Today, it had 20 people in it. 20 people in the entire theater. Where even The Flash, as bad as that was financially, had more people in the theater than this did. I don't know what that means exactly, but I guess we'll find out. But the reviews that I'm seeing pop up, I watched a few reviews. I always try to watch a few reviews before I do a review of my own, so I can see if I'm kind of off base or whatever else. So I watched. I'll name out a few people that if you're not following them, maybe you should. Sean Chandler and Force of Light, Michelle over at Force of Light, and her sister. So I think I was completely on board with what Force of Light said. And Sean Chandler, in some degree, I agree with most of what he said, but to some degree, he and I have seen some different films. So this story, if you don't know already, see, also, I knew about the plot of this film over a year ago. Probably I guess it's a little over a year. So I was working back to back on films and shows, etc. And I needed a break after a little bit, and because everything was being shot here at that time during the break of COVID, where filming was allowed to happen, but we had to be tested, 3 times a week. We had to wear masks, etc. So nobody wanted to leave town. So a lot of filming was done here at that time, which it's not anymore. And so I worked for like a year and a half straight. And literally I was on a Chris Elliott film. And then the next day after we wrapped on that movie, I was on a Hulu show. That's how I was turning stuff down. That's how busy we were. And of course, that's everything's moved out of town again now. But I needed a break. After working 15 hours a day for a year straight, you need a break. So I went to England for 10 days. And I ended up putting that on Facebook that I was about to leave. And my buddy said to me, "Oh, yeah, come, let's have dinner." So I said, "Wow, I didn't know you guys were even there." So I had dinner with them over at the Shakespeare, right in front of the Shakespeare Theater. There's a few restaurants there. And if you haven't been to London, I definitely suggest going. I love it there. But anyway, so he had just finished he said Pinewood Studios was busy for the next 5 years. And he had finished on Indiana Jones, and he had finished on Barbie. So they were shot back to back in basically the same areas. And he said, "Yeah, Indiana Jones." I said, "How is it?" And he's like, "Well, put it this way, Mangold. After wrap was they were wrapping, which Mangold is the director. He directed things like Logan, I like, and Ferrari, Ford versus Ferrari, which is a great film." And he said at the end of filming, during wrap, the director literally went like this: "I have no idea how it's going to turn out." So Mangold, even back in the day, knew this was a crap film. He knew. And of course, we've had upteen changes from it since then. He's had, even John Williams accidentally said that they were redoing the ending. But my friend told me back then that there was time travel in it. And I'm like, we just saw Aliens, now we have time travel? Indiana Jones film? What the hell? So I had very low expectations even a year ago about how this film was going to be. And boy, was I right. So it's written by Jez Butterworth and John Henry Butterworth. So I guess they're family of some type. I don't know their relation. David Coop and James Mangold. So you have huge heavy hitters on the writing. All right, you're talking about Jurassic Park, Mission Impossible, Ford versus Ferrari. These guys have Spider-Man. I mean, there's so many Stir of Echoes. I think one of them even directed Stir of Echoes. I mean, you're talking about huge talent behind this film as far as the creative team. So how did it turn out so badly? So the way I did it in my At a Theater review was that this film feels stale. It feels like it's been sitting on the shelf for the past, decade, just collecting dust. That's how it feels. And somebody just pulled it out and said, "Hey, look at this film. It's new." That's how it feels. It feels like it's old and tired, just like the main actor. So, the storyline is time travel, just like my friend had said back a year ago. And it's the Dial of Destiny. It's not a teleportation device as far as a time travel device. It's that you could find fissures in time to jump through. All right, whether it's in the sky or where, I don't know. This particular one's in the sky. I don't know. So if you don't have a plane, apparently you can't even use it. So, I don't know. Or, it's down an alley. They never really elaborate on this thing. So anyway, it's Archimedes was created this thing, and everybody's after it. So it's it's that plot device that everybody's after, and we meet. So at the beginning is everybody's know this. So those are already from the trailer. So this is non-spoiler. I'm going to try to do as non-spoilery as possible. And so we have the de-aging of Harrison Ford. And it is not good. It is not good. So there are times when it looks right, and there are other times that it just doesn't. But the feel of it is not there. So every time you're looking at him in this deep fake situation, you're looking for the flaws. I mean, you're looking for them because it's not him. And I think, I don't know why it's different from us seeing Luke on Mandalorian, de-aged, or even in the Star Wars movie, Rogue One. So, I mean, those honestly looked worse, but we knew it wasn't them to begin with. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know why it's different, but it is. And it just seems odd, and we kind of want it to end. Everybody told me, as far as the beginning, everybody's like, oh, yeah, not everybody, but the things I had watched previous said that the beginning was the best part before Phoebe Waller-Bridge shows up because it feels like an indie movie. He's de-aged, and I can't disagree more. I couldn't wait for that whole beginning to end. It was so bad. It was so bad. And the green screen of it on the train was bad. And then we have him running. Now, why we couldn't actually get a stuntman running on top of a train, I have no idea. But literally, the guy jumps, and it looks like a video game. I mean, it was bad. Everybody talks about how bad The Flash was. This was no better. The de-aging thing was a bad idea. It was just a bad idea. And then we go into meeting Phoebe Waller-Bridge's character, after we, see how he is now, where he's a grumpy old man. Of course, everybody's been told this already, that he's a grumpy old man. He's telling, turn down the music. Literally, he's a grumpy old man. And, we're in the 70s, late 60s, early 70s, which is also a mistake as far as I'm concerned. There's nothing really in that time period. So it's, I guess the big celebration that's going on is the space mission, so I guess a 69, I guess it would be. And the big standout actress for me is actually Shawnette and Renee Wilson, who has not done much. And I saw her; she's like the generic 70s type girl. They dressed her generically. She had the generic afro going on, and I'm like, we have just a generic person here. But no, I mean, she was the standout actor on this thing. Whenever she was on screen, I was engaged with what she was doing. Too bad she wasn't in it enough. When she wasn't in it, I was like, oh, come on, man, don't bring her back. Because then we have Phoebe Waller-Bridge to the whole thing. Phoebe Waller-Bridge is not pretty. She's not sexy. She's not engaging. There's just nothing. She has no screen presence whatsoever. Just zero. And on top of that, her character is a villain. Her character is a villain in this. And you can't tell me otherwise. So she's like Catwoman. Okay? So Catwoman is a villain with a heart. And that's how this character was portrayed in this film. But there's absolutely nothing likable about that. But when you have a Catwoman type character, you have to have charisma in that character, or we're just not going, the whole audience is just never going to latch onto that character. And that's exactly what happened here, is that we had this character that was bad, that was acting against Indy for the most part during the entire beginning. And we're supposed to like her. That ain't going to happen. Not unless she would just pour on the charm. And there's absolutely no chemistry between those two actors. Harrison Ford and her, it was almost like they were in two different movies. So there was just nothing going on the screen. Whenever she was on the screen, there was just nothing going on. In fact, I nodded off a few times. That's how boring this thing is. And when I go to an Indiana Jones movie, when I go to Tomb Raider, when I go to National Treasure, three things. There's one thing that can be those items, okay, of those titles. And that is the traps and the puzzles, okay? I'm going to see the traps and the puzzles. You know how much of that we get in this? Nothing. And people can bash Crystal Skull all they want, and yes, it was a bad movie. But you know what? It felt like Indiana Jones. We got some puzzles in there, etc. We got none of that here. Just nothing. There was one puzzle. It's not even a puzzle. He figured it out in 2 seconds. That we didn't even know there was a puzzle until it was already solved. So there was only one scene in any kind of a tomb. It just was, the movie was all over the place. The movie did not feel like an Indiana Jones movie. The end, it was great to see Karen Allen come back. She's another one who's always engaging because she's in one scene. John Rhys Davies, same thing. Whatever you saw him in the trailer, he had maybe one extra scene on top of that. That's it. And you can tell that he can barely walk anymore. It's kind of sad. So, I mean, they had him running a little bit, and it's like, ooh, yeah, that's kind of painful on him, I can tell. And then the whole tug fight there, or chase, those engines are the engines of a golf cart. And they have these things going 60 miles an hour. I mean, I'm not buying any of it. And, everybody talks about Mangold. The directing on this was actually poor. The directing was poor, as far as I'm concerned. There were so many places where he could have done Spielberg type stuff, where the character runs up into the frame and at the same time the camera's coming and it goes into a close-up. I was waiting for some of that. I was waiting for some of it, and there was at least 2 or 3 occasions he could have done that and didn't. That's a Spielberg move. And I have no idea why he didn't want to do that. And it's just confusing to me about the direction that he took in this. We have underwater stuff. Indiana Jones, what are we doing here? Antonio Banderas, he was in it too, and just wasted. Same thing with Mads Mikkelsen. Okay, he could have been a really good villain, like Toph. That's what I thought he was playing. I thought he was playing Toph from the first movie. Toph barely has any lines or anything. He's a great villain. And then we have this big towering guy, and we have this other guy that's kind of crazy and like is trigger happy as villains, and we get no payoff with those villains whatsoever. So when you see it, if you're expecting payoff for those villains, you're not going to get it. You're just not going to get it. So I got to ask this question. The question is why? Why was this even made? Did Kathleen Kennedy just say, "Hey, we'll make an Indiana. We have this other IP just sitting there. Let's just put a movie out." I mean, that's how it felt. It felt like, yeah, let's just put a movie out. And if I'm gonna, so let's go back to the writing side of this, because obviously we had really good talent behind this, right? So why is the script so bad? Why is the action so poor? Why is it boring? Why is it 2.5 hours and it feels like every minute of it? Why? So first of all, he's 80 years old. We should never have had this movie ever. This movie should never have been made. And Kathleen Kennedy's going out there counting the money before it even comes in, kind of thing, going, "Oh yeah, this movie's going to make $1 billion, so let's spend $300 million without marketing on this thing." Do you realize that's what it cost? $300 million. So let's talk about The Flash. The Flash is losing its ass. That's only $200 million. I'm going to say only because this, compared to 3, it's an only. And I just don't understand. I don't understand why this movie was made. How they thought that an 80-year-old man could pull any of this stuff off. And surprisingly, to a certain extent, he does. It's actually semi-believable about, him doing this stuff. And then you stop and think about it. You're like, what? So I really think that between Kathleen Kennedy and Phoebe Waller-Bridge putting their nose into everything, that they're the ones that destroyed this. I almost think that they had a better script first, and then this came, and they were told to change everything. And I really think that they were told to put the time travel was the basis of it. I don't think they came up with that. Because again, it doesn't feel like an Indiana Jones film because we're not going into tombs. We're not, going through the, and I'm going to go to a spoiler at the end of this. I'll announce it before I do it. There's just one or two of the things I wanted to bring up in the spoiler section. But, we're not figuring stuff out. It doesn't feel like there's a lot of stakes. Maybe that's the point. It doesn't feel like there's any stakes here. It's just like we don't think the villain's ever going to pull it off. So the villain is never a threat. That's the other problem. And as far as I'm concerned, the villain should have been dead in the beginning. There's a few things that happen in the beginning that Indy should have been dead and Mads Mikkelsen should have been dead. Schmidt or whatever. I don't remember what his real name was. That was his name in the beginning, was Schmidt. So, yeah, I really think that Kathleen Kennedy and Phoebe Waller-Bridge putting their nose into it have destroyed it before it even started. During filming, it was probably before filming, when the scripting was getting done, and then during filming. Plus, on the directing side, we have this scene that takes place during, I guess, the celebration of the astronauts, right? and they have confetti everywhere. It was the production design on that with the entire street was very, very good. Very good. And he didn't utilize it. Yeah, we had the little chase scene in there with the horse, but I didn't feel the location. Okay, that's maybe the point. I didn't feel the location. The location was so great, and I didn't feel it. I didn't feel the expanse of it, and that's part of the directing, man. So I think Mangold totally dropped the ball on this. I think what happened was that he was beat down so much during filming, he just wanted to get it over with. That's what I think happened. And then when it was over, he had no idea how to defend it. That's why he got defensive in social media. So that's what I think happened. And let's just get into the review the out of 10. Or we're going to do it out of 10 or out of 5. Either way, it's going to be the same. I'm going to give this thing 1.5 stars, man. This thing was complete garbage, boring, no need for it whatsoever. Like everybody says, there's only 3 Indiana Jones films. But even the last one with the fridge and the swinging, at least we got a charismatic villain in there. But at least it felt like Indiana Jones, at least, which this just didn't. It felt like somebody said, "Hey, I got this thing, I got this IP, let's make a movie out of it." That's what it felt like. It didn't work. Just didn't work. None of it worked. So I'm going to get to spoilers, but before I do, remember that I have my. Remember to first of all like and subscribe. I'm trying. I watch as much to the end as possible on my other videos as well, because I'm trying to get monetized and I need a certain amount of hours. So even if you have it playing in the background, don't listen to it. Turn the sound up. I'm trying to get as much hours out of it as possible. But remember that I have my comics out. I'm going to put a link below on places to get this. So Lords of LA is my vampire mob in the 50s. It's destinyrower.net down below where you can pick some of this stuff up, and I do sign them, so they'll come autographed. There's plenty of blood and guts in this and nudity, so it's like a little bit of True Bloodish if you want to look at it that way. So it's made for adults, and so you can definitely pick that up because I got the second part of that coming out, which is issue 3-4. That's issue 1 and 2. And then Destiny Aurora, my 150-page graphic novel, sci-fi. So it's kind of like Guardians of the Galaxy meets Star Trek. So you have space battle, you have blasters, you have punching, and you have a mystery that you have to solve, and plenty of twists in there as well. So I think everybody has fun with that one. Not to mention I have Flibby in that one, who's a fan favorite. And then I have my first fantasy novel, Tales of Ravenor the Iron Witch, which is a 400-page novel set in the Ravenor universe. So definitely check that one out as well. And now I'm going to get into spoilers. So, but it's not going to be long, just a couple of things. So better shut me off now if you plan on seeing it. If you don't plan on seeing it, then just let me ramble. Okay, so 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. All right, here we go. You've been warned. So I laughed when they went back in time. I laughed when they went back in time. That stuff looked so bad. All right, they're fighting in the back. The armor that they wore was barely dented. It looked brand new. The Romans. It was just bad. All that was bad. And then they landed the plane. And you would think that both armies would be like, hey, we're going to go over there to see that thing. Because the dragon just landed. That's what they called it, was the dragon. And the kid was no short round. Definitely not. The kid did not work either. So, but instead, they sit there for how long? They talk to Archimedes, whatever else. None of the army comes up at all. Just none. I know there was like 2 of them that got killed, but that was it. But none of the rest of the army showed up to even think about what this thing was. They just left it there. What? I don't get any of that. And I still don't understand why he couldn't have stayed there. But I don't know. I guess the plot says so. Because they could have taken. First of all, he should never have been shot. He should have been grazed because he jumped out of the plane. He did all this other stuff, and we never even dealt with the wound. He didn't even look like he was having trouble moving it. And if anything, they should have made the bullet go through him. But who knows? It was all just stupid. I know it was compared to, the ghosts from the first movie and the supernatural of the Mola Ram taking out the hearts in the second movie. The third movie with the 1,000-year-old knight and the thing, that never worked for me. Ever. Because where did he eat? What did he do? Order Uber? How did he eat? And on top of that, where did he shit? Everything like that. I don't understand. So he never left the place, or did he leave and come back? That whole thing never worked for me. The whole ending of the third movie never really worked for me. So I liked the thing about the penitent man. I liked all that, but once they got inside, it just didn't work for me anymore. But yes, I know it's that the endings of Indiana Jones movies are goofy, but this one just made no sense. It just made no sense. So they're back in the time of the ancient Romans. I don't know, whatever, man. And then on top of that, right, the disc with the moon in it thing that they find was obviously in wax, right? Because he burns it and it melts off like wax. So that means that it would have been scratched. It had the markings in there, but you wouldn't have been able to read any of it because at that point in time, it had to be scratched so much. Whether there was rats on it or other things, there was plenty of bugs in there. That whole thing would have been scratched to shit. And it looked like it was totally pristine. I didn't buy that either. There's just so much of it I did not buy. And then, of course, it's around a tourist attraction. And nobody's seen this thing, ever. That nobody's stepped on that thing with the water displacement crap. Nobody ever stepped in that pool. Not 2 people, 3 people, 4 people. And it never triggered. I don't buy it. So there was a whole bunch of stuff in there that I was just like, yeah, this doesn't work, man. This just doesn't work. But yeah, I don't know. The film to me was just way too many holes. And then how did they find them in the beginning? Right? I know that they found them later because he said, they're going in the wrong direction. Then I guess he had just assumed that, and then he had the kid with him telling him certain things. But before that, how did he find them before that? Don't know. Just way too many holes. It was definitely skip this movie. If you're here now watching it, you've either seen it or you don't plan on seeing it. But yeah, it's a skip it. It's a skip it movie, that's for sure. And I'll never see this movie again, ever. All right. Well, again, thank you guys for watching. I really appreciate the support. And again, remember to like and subscribe. And thanks again, guys. And I'll put other videos up here as well. If you can continue, again, maybe watching some older stuff on my channel. I do board game playthroughs. I do comic book reviews and movie reviews. So it's a little bit of pop culture all over the place. So, yeah, hopefully you like some of my stuff. And I probably wouldn't have seen this film if people said, "How can you review it?" As I was pretty much against seeing this film. But anyway, I saw it. I will forget it. I will. This is one of those things where I wish there was some kind of a mind wipe. All right. Thanks again, guys. Have a good one. All right. Bye-bye.